Hello, friends. The 1134th day of the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. Russian troops have advanced near the borders of the Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk regions in the area of the village of Sribny, as evidenced by the deep state map. Let me remind you that the Russians resumed their offensive there after a temporary lull. Russian telegram channels wrote about a large-scale offensive and a breakthrough of the Ukrainian armed forces front between Kotlyrivka and Troitsky. The Russian advance was also recorded by the Ukrainian telegram channel Deep State and was confirmed by the American Institute for the Study of War. It wrote that Russian troops advanced at least 3 kilometers from the administrative border of the Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk regions in 2 areas of the Pokrovsk direction. U.S. experts also predicted new Russian advances in the southeast of the Dnipropetrovsk region. They cited interviews with Ukrainian military personnel in which they said that Russian troops in the Pokrovsk direction had recovered and were ready for a new offensive campaign. A Ukrainian fighter with the call sign Mujnoy also reported that the Russians were preparing for a serious advance. A mechanized assault by enemy tanks took place between Kotlyrivka and Troitsky. The tanks were destroyed, but according to visual control, the enemy still has 3.5 kilometers to go to reach the Dnipropetrovsk region. This is only the beginning, the military man wrote. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, talk continues that Russia is preparing a major offensive. Military analysts write that it can be expected in the Lyman direction. There, Russia has amassed a large group, 10 times larger than the Ukrainian one, and may try to enter from there in the coming months to the north of Borova or to the south of Lyman. This is stated by the American Institute for the Study of War. It cites the opinions of Russian war correspondents who say that Russia will try to unite 2 bridgeheads on the western bank of the Jeribits River, the main one near Novobivka and a smaller one near Makivka. The Russians may try to bypass the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in Novozerhivka, Drubivka, and Novimir. Russia is attacking this area mainly with infantry, rarely using armored vehicles. A representative of the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade, which is fighting in the Borova area, also announced Russia's imminent offensive. According to Battalion Commander Fukin, Russia is preparing an offensive in April. Well-equipped reserves have been training in the rear areas of Russia for over a month, and an offensive is expected, including in the deployment zone of the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade. He noted that the information about April is preliminary. At the same time, the head of the Center for Combating Disinformation, Kovalenko, says that the offensive is being prepared not for April, but for May. Earlier, Zelensky also indicated that Moscow could launch a major attack this spring. But he said that Russia was planning to attack the Sumy and Kharkiv regions. At the same time, Western media wrote about the danger of an offensive in the Zaporizhia region, where Russia has already started a number of local battles. That is, the signals about the impending Russian offensive are contradictory. This continued today. People's Deputy Venislavsky believes that Russia does not have the resources for a large-scale offensive, and information about its preparation is a way to put pressure on the West during negotiations. That is, according to Venislavsky's logic, Zelensky and the Ukrainian military are putting pressure on the West with such statements. Their wishes and plans, which they are trying to hammer into the heads of European partners in order to force them to make some concessions, I think, are not a determining factor for us. The armed forces of Ukraine will be able to neutralize any threats, the member of the Defense Committee stated somewhat ambiguously. Earlier, the commander of the 3rd Assault Corps, Bieletsky, also stated that the Russians are not planning major strikes, but are going to exhaust the armed forces of Ukraine with the tactics of 1,000 cuts. It is difficult to say at this point how realistic the information about the imminent Russian offensive is. According to one version, it may indeed be spread by Kiev in order to show Trump that Moscow is negotiating peace in bad faith, since it is preparing to continue the war. However, it cannot be ruled out that Russian generals are seriously planning new attacks during the spring-summer campaign, which is also facilitated by the weather. It is difficult to estimate the scale of these plans. However, it is obvious that a large-scale Russian offensive that would go beyond the current tactical advances would most likely be a sign of the failure of negotiations with Trump and an attempt by Russia to approach a new round of diplomacy from a stronger position. If we talk about the most likely directions of the main attack, then first of all, this is the direction of Zaporizhia and the Dnipro, both from the southern front, where the Russians have intensified their attacks in the last couple of weeks and are making progress, and from the east from the Donetsk region, where the Russian advance is now the most noticeable of all sections of the front. Another potential direction for a large-scale offensive is the Sumy region, where the Russians may try to create a buffer zone along the border.
Friends, I want to develop and strive for higher quality content, but my 2009 computer does not allow me to do this. If you have the opportunity to help me buy a new computer and make my dream come true, I will be very grateful to you. You will find the link in the description under the video and in the pinned comment. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.